Hello everybody, we'll be doing another episode on Phobie analysis. Today we're going to be focusing on a specific archetype. Instead of looking at some more specific strategies, we're going to be looking at how phobies function and what their role is. So, the reason that it says the keepers is that it's a specific archetype. I tried to kind of hide this series because the problem with Phobie analyses is that they're very difficult to make because most phobies aren't that difficult to understand and utilize, and even some that were in the pilot episode weren't even that complicated. They weren't even that complex. So yeah, I already talked about everything that was on the slide, so let's just get into it. So today we're going to be talking about 5 phobies: Cerberus, Unbearable, KERBLOOM, Uni Corn, and Sheeping Gas. Go ahead and take a bit. Look at the stats. Also, KERBLOOM is level 1 because I do not have KERBLOOM, but everything else should be near the same level 6 or 7. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Alright, I'm going to continue to the next one now. Are you ready, class? So basically, a keeper is a phobie that it basically works when map control is set and they're trying to maintain that. Usually it's because they're ranged or they have a lot of burst damage. Usually poison doesn't really play into that, but you'll see that later with Sheeping Gas. But I like to split keepers into 2 sub-archetypes. We have Toast Bath Keepers and Gandalf Keepers. Very dumb names, but if you want to call them something different, I'd suggest Suicide Keepers and Wall Keepers, something like that. But I'm going to call it Toast Bath and Gandalf because I think it's funny. Toast Bath Keepers tend to have some big way to dismantle the enemy composition, but they kind of get destroyed after that. 2 good examples that we're going to be presenting today are KERBLOOM and Sheeping Gas. They kind of just die after. Sheeping Gas guys, KERBLOOM literally dies. Gandalf Keepers tend to usually hold their ground, but they can only really attack when an enemy approaches them because they don't really have the burst damage to move and attack at the same time. So essentially, Gandalf Keeper's purpose is to deny the capability or permission of entry through the speaker. A few examples of keepers that I'm not going to be going over are Bowmangles, Bad Sushi, Hydra, and Baba Yaga. These are all Gandalf keepers except for Bad Sushi, which is a Toast Bath keeper. So let's go ahead and get into everything. The first one is Uni Corn. Now, Uni Corn is you could argue that it's not a Gandalf keeper, mainly because a lot of its damage is based in their traps. However, I don't really think that's true. I think that it's similar to, it counts as his burst damage. So I think that this counts as a Gandalf keeper. I don't think there's a reason to make another sub-archetype. But because he's such a low cost, and he's just able to place down these traps as long as he's close to them, I think he's really strong right now. Obviously he doesn't have the stats to keep up because he only costs 2 keys. But his trap does like 575. His attack does like what 414 or something, at least for me. But you're definitely going to need a bit more backup. This is just a good support. I tend to use this on small maps when I want to bring out Unbearable. So I'll bring in Uni Corn. Next turn I'll be able to bring out Unbearable. Now I like him a lot more than Baba Yaga and Fire Ant just because of how cheap he is. So that's more so that versatility that you get with your keys and whatnot. And you basically just get free map control once you place down that trap, because once they step on it, even if they're not aware, they are going to lose some HP. And you know what they say about free map control? It's free real estate. Now, the next one we have is Cerberus. I also was contemplating whether not to make this a Gandalf keeper and keep it as a sub-archetype, but decided to keep it for one main reason, which is that he does indeed, he's not really that great at move hitting, but for a specific reason. Because he is good at move hitting when it comes to taking positions. Like, he does a lot of damage. He does 1.1k for my level. The thing is, Cerberus doesn't really thrive with map control, he instead relies on it. You kind of have to have map control for Cerberus to function well, but once he does, he functions really well. And He only has one movement and one range, which I think is incredibly rare for Juggernaut. There are two exceptions, which is the newly deads. That would be Ted and Jill, along with the Hydra. They're both pretty overstated for their cost, but the thing is, Cerberus is just scary in general. Like, the best of the best can't really kill Cerberus that quickly. You kind of need a whole firing squad. So, and there are a lot of other one movement, one ranged, but the other ones don't really count. Like Sucky has a 2 range jump, Venus has a trap, Blondie has the weakness ability, and so everything else basically has something to compensate for their lack of range and lack of movement. Cerberus doesn't have that. So while he's not a normal Gandalf keeper, you can still fight from 2 tiles away because you can just move it up to them. But the thing is, you can't really push forward. Because if you're staying 2 tiles away and you move 2 tiles forward, you're probably going to run into their firing squad, and it's probably not a good idea. But I think Cerberus is really cool, really good as a start, as starting out. If you're able to sort of keep your map control for as long as possible in one specific area, you're able to kind of just keep that basically forever. You can keep that for the entire game. And sometimes it's not really what you want, because sometimes you want both the panic points on small maps. Um, but I think Cerberus is, he has a lot of value when it comes to maintaining map control. As long as it's already there and you have a bit of support, he is a monster. He is super hard to deal with. Also, I don't recommend pushing forward with him, just so you know. Just trying to make sure he's kind of not getting sniped. Now, KERBLOOM, I don't actually have this Phobie, but I really think is a good example of a Toastback keeper. Because it literally explodes itself, does a shit ton of damage, pushes him back, and fucking dies. And the reason I didn't put Boom is because it doesn't actually push back, and also it's only one key, so I feel like it doesn't really have much value, and it doesn't really count as a Gandalf keeper. You could say that it is, and I wouldn't disagree with you necessarily, but I think KERBLOOM is just better. Um, yeah, fun stuff. I really love KERBLOOM. I think it's really cool. Now, the next one is Unbearable. The reason I like Unbearable so much is because it's so basic, but it's one of a kind. I've kind of grown with it. I thought that Unbearable was really bad at the beginning because I didn't realize that it could lob because I'm stupid. And I was like, oh yeah, Bone Mangles is just better. Because mechanicals do tend to be better than undeads. So I mean, it kind of felt like Unbearable is just bad. But no, not really. And Lob really plays into this because on maps such as the Pending Drop, you can put it over here. You can put it over here. Now it targets the heart. If you put it over here, it targets 2 health panic points. Put it here, it also targets 2 panic points. And normal phobies just can't do that. And there aren't really that many lob phobies, and I don't think there are any under 5 keys except for Dry Cannon and Unbearable. So it just gives you a lot of value because this guy has a huge amount of HP. He does like 500 damage. Actually, no, mine does 440. So it does like about 450 damage. I'm just able to really stack it on. And it's kind of like Jar Cannon where it's really oppressive and you can't really reach it without having to run into everything else. But I feel like Unbearable is kind of like Chuck, where he's kind of a one-man job. And obviously he's a lot worse because he's only 4 keys. But he just has so much value. And I think that you should use him. Now, of course, he doesn't have to be used as a keeper. But I think he has a lot of usage as a Gandalf keeper. He's really able to just roll up there while you have that map control. Most one movement phobies are keepers. I'm going to be completely honest here. There are some exceptions. I don't think Blondie is a keeper. Honestly, they're more of a support, if anything. Because most of the time you walk up to them, you get the weaken, and then next turn you'll start racking up damage. But you only do like 800 because you have to move hit. So it's not necessarily the same. You could call Blondie a keeper, but I feel like others are better at their job, and I think Blondie can fill other roles. Unbearable can also fill other roles. It doesn't have to be a keeper. It can kind of just roll on, and you can't really do too much about it. You can't one-shot it. So if you don't do that, then it'll do like 800 damage, get 300 of that back. It's kind of annoying, but yeah, I think it's a pretty good Gandalf keeper. Lastly, we have Sheeping Gas. Definition of a Toast Bath Keeper. Um, I think he's super good in specific situations. If you can get him with Erratic, it's even better. But because of how strong mechanicals are right now, it's difficult to use Sheeping Gas. But because Undeads are the second best, in my opinion, you can get quite a bit of value out of it from time to time. So I think it's super effective at times. It's not the best Toast Bath Keeper. I still prefer KERBLOOM. You get a bit. It's basically made to be a Toast Bath Keeper. But, I mean, every once in a while, if you can get that small opening, kill, like, poison, like, 3 of the enemy Phobies, and now they're, like, all, like, taking turns in the fucking healing spa, that's a lot of value. Because you're thinking, oh, you can just heal it, but they have to retreat to heal. Or they get clinical. And if clinical isn't nearby, then what are they going to do? So, like, usually when you have poison, they prioritize getting healed. Or they're mechanical and they'll just smack you in the face. But I think poison has a lot of value in terms of predicting what your opponent is going to do next, and also providing a lot of just raw damage. So, in conclusion, there's really not much to say here. Help to maintain map control. It's going to be a bit difficult to release the next episode. I don't really know what archetype I'm going to do next. Maybe it's like snipers. I don't think juggernauts really counts because that kind of bleeds into keepers. I feel like most keepers are juggernauts. There are a few exceptions, but I feel like most of them are. But I will try to continue the series. Maybe I won't, but that's fine. Um, I do want to start talking about future videos that I want to do. Right now, I don't have anything. If I'm thinking anything off the top of my mind, it's probably talking about like how to play the game or like how to get good at the game. Some people aren't really good at the game. Yeah. I don't think anyone's who's watching my videos isn't good at the game because they bothered to watch it, and I think that says something about them wanting to improve. So, if you're watching this, hey, maybe you're not that bad. Maybe don't worry about that. I don't think anyone's worrying about that anyway. I don't know why I said it like that. But I don't know. I don't really have anything. I did make a tournament, by the way. That didn't go well. I already said that last video, actually. I don't need to mention that. No, I'm gonna try to like think of something so I can do that, so I can make the slide tomorrow, and then I can just post it. Um, I guess we could talk about like races, because like mechanicals are super strong right now, but I don't think it's because mechanicals have a lot of they have a specific damage type against them, and I feel like that's really weird. I could talk about electrical damage. I had like a debate with someone today about that because I don't know. I feel like electrical damage is really dumb because it doesn't really. It only works against mechanicals, and that's it. You're getting no more value out of that. So I feel like Phobies with electrical damage, they have to be dumbed down so like they're not too OP. So then what's happening is that they're super situational. I feel like that's really dull. But I don't know. Maybe I won't talk about it. Maybe I will. We'll see. But yeah. Hope you guys have a great day. Um, I I already played Valorant today actually because it's like 9:30 right now. But yeah. All right. See ya.